You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristodoulou, and today I am coming at you guys with a top 5, as I will be throughout the entirety of this week. I am currently away, so everything you guys will be seeing this week that goes up will be pre-recorded, and we're doing a bunch of top 5s, starting with the offenses of the AFC. I'm going to rank the top 5 offenses for both the AFC and NFC, and also the top 5 defenses for both the AFC and NFC as we roll through the week, starting here. So if you are a fan of any of the teams I mentioned here, make sure you hit that like button. And if you are not, and you're wondering where your team is at, comment down below and let me know why you think your team should be up in the top 5. But without further ado, let's get it rolling, shall we? So we're going to start from 5 to 1 as we work our way through. Coming in with the first team at number 5, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. Yes, the Chargers, a team that was very impressive last season, averaging nearly 28 points a game, 390 yards a game as well. That was second best in the AFC specifically. But overall, this unit has so much to be excited about, with obviously Justin Herbert, an offensive line that is starting to get better. You, of course, bring back Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen is still there doing his thing. I know some people keep talking about him aging out, but Keenan Allen hasn't not really dropped off at all. He's still playing at one of the highest levels in the NFL, one of the best route runners in the NFL, and some of the most sure hands in the NFL at that, paired with, of course, Austin Eckler. There's not really much you don't really like about this offense, at least when I look at it. And I mean, realistically speaking, going through this free agency period, as of right now, when I'm recording this, and everything is being recorded on Sunday, March 20th, but when you guys see this, I don't even know the order that these are going to be uploaded in. But Jared Cook, aging out, not quite the tight end he used to be. Excellent player throughout the majority of his career, but at this point, starting to age out. They did just sign Gerald Everett to replace him, I'm assuming, which is an exciting turn of events. I was actually just getting ready to record this video when that signing got announced, so that gives you an idea as to when this is being shot. But, I mean, there's just so much in this offense between the playmakers, the quarterback, the offensive line finally starting to come together. I don't know, man. I like them in the top 5. Honestly, their biggest knock, if I was to really pick something, is probably their penalties. They get penalized too much, and that's probably their biggest area of improvement that needs to happen this offseason and going into next year, is just stay disciplined. You were ranked 15th in the AFC in penalties, averaging about 6.5 a game. So if they can shore that up, I mean, the sky's the limit. They were first in yards per or tied for first in yards per play in the AFC. I mean, there's just so much to like about the unit. Give me the Chargers just about any day of the week, as long as they're not shooting themselves in the foot with penalties. At number 4, this one, I went back and forth with number 4 and 5, but ultimately I settled on the Tennessee Titans, mainly because the signing of the trade for Robert Woods. I mean, this offense without, and because Julio Jones was in and out with injury, A.J. Brown was in and out with injury, Derrick Henry missed half the season and came back really rusty in the playoffs. This team still got it done, and got it done fairly effectively. Probably one of their biggest knocks is, again, the penalties, averaging about 6 a game. That's probably their biggest area of improvement that needs to have happen here. But realistically speaking, you were averaging 24.5 points a game last year, 342 yards in total as well of offense. And I mean, for how much they got done with all the injuries that the Titans dealt with last year, Mike Vrabel won Coach of the Year, deservedly so, because of what he was able to do with that unit. You have excellent coaching. You have excellent skill, talent. Ryan Tannehill kind of fell apart having the weight on his shoulders in that playoff game. If he can move past that and get beyond that issue there, I like the Tennessee Titans. And the Titans isn't really built to be a run-through Tannehill type of offense anyways. It's supposed to be on the back of Derrick Henry. So with Henry back healthy, you have obviously A.J. Brown, fantastic wide receiver, probably a top 5 wide receiver, and maybe even arguably higher than that when he's healthy. Then, of course, the addition of Robert Woods. While he is 30 years old coming off an injury, he is still one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. I won't say one of the best, but he is definitely one of the better wide receivers when he's healthy. And then, I mean, the offensive line year in and year out, no matter what, whoever's in there and whoever's moving on and whoever's being brought in, that offensive line is consistently a top 10 unit every single year. I feel like the Titans have had a good offensive line at least since like 2008 when like Chris Johnson was doing his thing. Their offensive line's good every single year. You can't really count the Titans out. And I mean, just based off what they did last year, assuming they don't deal with the litany of injuries again, I like what the Titans do on offense, and I think they can continue to roll through with a probably improved offense going into this next season. Next up on the list, coming in, and before I even get into the top three here, I'm going to say that I feel like there's going to be some controversy in this one here. So if you think your team should be higher on here or one of these teams that is higher up should be lower, by all means, comment down below. Let me know your reasoning here. This I know is going to be somewhat of a conversation. At number 3, I have the Buffalo Bills. And I was torn putting them at number 3 because I do think they could be a little bit higher, but the largest reason altogether as to why I'm dropping them back is because, one, the running game, I still just can't figure out. When Josh Allen is your leading rusher, you know that there is a issue going on there. He accounted for a third of their rushing yards this past season. Outside of that, though, the offense is great. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not. 28.4 points a game. That was best in the AFC. And then on top of that, couple that with 381 yards a game of offense. I mean, the turnover margin wasn't too high at only 1.29, 5.7 yards a play. Their scoring percentage, they scored on 45.2% of their drives. I mean, there's so much about this team. And again, the only real knock to them is discipline. Averaging about 6.5 penalties a game. If they can just lower that down and overcome the loss of Cole Beasley, who they just released, and then also Emmanuel Sanders is still a free agent. I don't know if they're going to plan, especially with Cole Beasley being gone now, I don't know if they plan to bring him back. While he's not the Emmanuel Sanders that he used to be, I still think he brings some decent speed compared to some people in the NFL, coupled with some really good hands and veteran experience. I mean, I guess we'll just have to see ultimately where Buffalo goes at wide receiver, but Josh Allen is so good. They just brought in O.J. Howard. The offensive line should be getting a little bit better with the addition of Roger Saffold. I like the unit. Could they be higher? Potentially. But are they better than the two offenses that I have ahead of them? I don't know. Coming in at number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. I have the Kansas City Chiefs sitting at number 2, 28.2 points a game. They were second best in the AFC last year, 396.8 yards a game. That was first in the AFC. The turnover margin is where the team really hurt themselves. Out of the 16 teams in the AFC, they're sitting at 12th, turning the ball over almost 1.5 times a game. That was a storyline all season long. I don't think that's really a surprise to anyone when I read that number out loud to you guys, but aside from the turnover margin, I mean, score percentage-wise, they scored on nearly 50% of their drives. It was at 48%. Yards per play, they're tied for first at 5.9. You have Patrick Mahomes. You now have Juju Smith-Schuster paired with Tyreek Hill, paired with Travis Kelce, and an offensive line that is very good. The running game is probably their biggest weakness overall. Not too bad with penalties. They're like middle of the road in terms of what the average is, I guess, per se, but I mean, can you really doubt Kansas City's offense? Even when they're turning the ball over, they are still one of the more effective units in the NFL. And I like them at number 2, mainly because I've got to go with the Cincinnati Bengals sitting at number 1. This offense is so explosive. They have, the wide receiver core. Come on now. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Your running back is Joe Mixon. Your quarterback is Joe Burrow. They signed a litany of guys on the offensive line to improve. Like, Joe Burrow got sacked 70 times, including playoffs last season. And they made it to the Super Bowl. Now, they added Ted Karras. They've added Alex Kappa and La'el Collins to the offensive line. Now, I was going through Twitter and a few other social media places, and I saw a lot of people roasting the Bengals because they're like, oh, Ted Karras is a backup center, and La'el Collins is only good when he's healthy, and Alex Kappa is the 5th best O-lineman on the Buccaneers. Well, do you see what they had Just last year, it was a sand sieve of a unit. Anything is better than what they had last year. If they can lower Joe Burrow's sack total, including playoffs, assuming they make the playoffs again last year, because I think that they should. This team is looking up, and I think they're trending in the right direction. If they can take that sacks total to, say, 50, even 45, if they could somehow just not get sacked nearly, 9 times in the playoffs, 8 times in that playoff game against the Titans. What was the number again? I don't know off the top of my head, but it was something ludicrous. If they're not allowing nearly 10 sacks in a game, this is a completely different offense. And I mean in a good way, because it's only going to get better if Joe Burrow has time to throw to these receivers and things open up for their running game. I'm a big fan of what the Bengals are doing. I am not a Bengals fan, but I'm a big fan of what they're doing. That's my top 5 offenses for the AFC. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I would love to know who you guys think should be in the top 5, who should be number 1 and whatnot. Let me know. Appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.